joy, peace, contribution, a sense of accomplishment, that's what most of us really want, either through our business or our professional career. And yet I talk to hundreds of people a year, and I rarely find someone who's gotten this through their work. In this episode, I want to talk about why so many people feel stuck, frustrated, and dissatisfied in their work, and what we can do, and we owe it to ourselves to do about it. Have you ever felt like success and joy are elusive? Like you tick all the boxes, but none of it really does it for you? You just feel stuck and frustrated, like you're spinning your wheels and not getting anywhere. That's how I felt when I left my corporate career back in 2012. I started my first business. But unfortunately, I can't say that at that time I built something better than what I had. I ended up working about 18 hours a day, 7 days a week, giving myself a half day off for Christmas and for Thanksgiving. I was angry with myself for not having achieved what I set out to do in the business. I sidelined people around me because I just didn't have any energy left for them. And I was becoming the person that we all despise being around, that suffers from poor little old me. The world is against me. Everyone's attacking me. Nothing ever goes in my favor. I was in worse shape than I was when I had been employed. When I closed that business, which coincided with some major crises in my personal life, I just asked myself, how did I get here? That's when I saw the tremendous error I had committed. And that's exactly the same error I see so many people about to commit when they pitch me their next career or life move or their business idea. The error was that I was moving away from what I knew I didn't want as fast as I could in an all-out sprint. But I had not stopped to see where it was, in fact, I wanted to go. What it was, in fact, I wanted to pursue. From friends who've called me to tell me they want to emigrate, to people who want to change jobs, I see this same dangerous pattern all the time. Running away from something they don't want, yet never taking the time to define clearly for themselves exactly what they are running towards. No wonder success and joy felt elusive. I'd never even looked at what they even meant for me. So there I sat, feeling like life had pulled the rug out from under me. What I thought I was building was shattered, and suddenly I could see that honestly, that was never really going to do it for me anyways. It was all far from what I previously had, but there was no joy or success at the end of that path either. Then one of my mentors, he had me do this exercise that felt so ridiculous and morbid. He told me to write my eulogy, like really get into it. At the very end, when it's all said and done, what would I want people to say that my life was about? What types of stories would I want people to tell? See, I felt so broken at that moment of my life that this was surely going to be some waste of time exercise. I didn't even know what I wanted. I just knew I was miserable. But then it hit me. If I didn't know what I wanted, how could I ever have a sense of accomplishment? How could I ever move towards anything meaningful? I rolled my eyes and I did the exercise. So I sat down and I wrote that eulogy. And as I wrote it, the gap between what I was writing and how I was actually living became painstakingly clear. I felt destroyed, worn down, and all I had shown the world was that I was capable of hard work. But so what? I had barely spent time with my parents, who were retired. This should have been the best time of my life for that. I had stopped running completely, even though marathons had always been part of who I was. I was making decisions based on what I thought I should do, not the life story I actually wanted to live. I had never stopped to think about this life I'm building. I had never taken the time to plan out the ways I wanted to impact or the things I wanted to learn to become the leading character in a life story that was just wonderful. I would spend a whole day planning a business trip, but I had never sat down to create what I wanted my life to be about. So as I sat down to write out my eulogy, and I started doing this math equation to accompany it, okay, how long do I want to live minus my current age? I suddenly felt a sense of urgency. And I looked at what I was building at that time and where I was putting my time and energy and attention. And it was not towards a life worthy of a great eulogy. And as I went through the prompts of the exercise, which I'll give you in just a minute, I suddenly realized that joy and peace and contribution and a sense of accomplishment was not something I could create out there in the world, but something I had to develop within me. I certainly didn't want to play this poor little me role anymore. I wanted to become the protagonist of a marvelous story, an adventure, an action-packed story that left the audience inspired and uplifted. I wanted that character to be healthy and full of vitality and to have fun and experience the magic of life. Boy, did I have my work cut out for me. But the work couldn't start out there. It had to start inside. I redo this exercise every year on my birthday. I don't want a party or a cake or any of that. I take a day to tap into the life I want to live and the focus I'll give over the next year to moving towards that. This yearly routine of mine, it's completely transformed my life. I've changed my entire business strategy, the types of services I offer, based on these reflections. I've pulled the plug on ideas that looked good on paper, but didn't align with my eulogy. One year, I realized I needed to prioritize my health differently, and I started working with a nutritionist. Another year, I began working with an allergist. I even changed my living situation to better support the life I was designing. Most importantly, I started spending a few months each year with my parents. I got back into marathoning. These weren't just nice ideas. These were non-negotiable elements of the life story I was writing. And when I started seeing what I wanted from every standpoint, I realized I needed to invest in learning how to increase my income, which essentially for me meant I needed to learn to become a marketer and a saleswoman. And that's how I got started in this entirely new line of business nearly a decade ago. You see, the eulogy exercise didn't just help me identify what I wanted, it showed me the skills I needed to develop to make it happen. I couldn't live the life I envisioned on my current income or with the current skill set I had. So I invested in learning marketing and sales, not because I thought they were fun or easy, but because they were the bridge between where I was and the life I wanted to live. So if you're feeling frustrated with where you're at and you just want to start running in the opposite direction as quickly as possible, let me give you these eulogy prompts so you can define a clear direction for yourself to run towards. I'm going to run through these questions kind of quick. So if you can't press pause and go through this exercise right now, save or bookmark this episode so you can come back to them later. How long do you want to live? How much time do you realistically have left? What's the one big vision you want to accomplish before you pass away? How do you want people to remember you when you're gone? What would you want someone to say you were about, a great advocate for, or a great defender of? What old paradigms or limiting beliefs do you want to help break for others? Then getting into impact and contribution. Whose lives do you want to transform, and in what ways? What would be your greatest accomplishment in a realistic but amazing life? What do you want to teach people? And what transformation do you want to create? What would you want people to say about your courage and the risks you took? How do you want to be remembered in terms of character and values? What would they say about your health, relationships, your career, your spiritual life, and the financial success you've achieved? What were you a devoted student of? And what did you become a teacher of? What people do you want to share your life with? And how do you want to show up for them? What are you willing to sacrifice to get what you most want in life? Why should people care about your life and the work you did? Now that you have a clear vision, you can adjust your life and make decisions that head towards that climatic scene. Here's what I want you to remember. Stop running away from what you don't want and start running towards what you do want. Joy, peace, contribution, and accomplishment come from within, not from external markers or external achievement. You can't build a meaningful life without first defining what meaningful looks like for you. This eulogy exercise, it isn't morbid. It's the most practical planning tool you'll ever use. Finally, do this annually. Your vision will evolve as you grow, and that's exactly what should happen. So before you make your next career move, before you start that business, before you emigrate or you change jobs, write your eulogy first. Know where you're going before you start running. Because when you're clear on the life story you want to live, every decision becomes easier. You're no longer asking, what should I do? You're asking, what would the protagonist of my amazing story do? I'm Melissa Marchand, helping accomplished professionals build consulting businesses they love. If you know someone who's running away instead of running toward, please share this episode with them.